welcome to Elisa Maria Designs. Today is Sunday, and Sunday is Self-Care Sunday. And most of the time I do read from Mark Nepo's Book of Awakening, and we discuss the meditation and the reading. That is a very, like, it's a page long, um, kind of like reflective thought for the day. And when 2024 was getting ready to be rung in, my world kind of just went upside down with a whole bunch of stuff. But if you're new here, it's nothing to worry about. It's all good. I'm just starting to kick off 2024 in June, going into July. But one of the things that I had on my list to do was to start the Artist Way, and I did, I think, maybe 2 classes, and then due to COVID, that's one thing I'll let you in on. It just, wiped me out, and it's continued from there. So I was looking over some books. I'm in my artist room these days, and I'm going through a lot of things that I want to move around, and I want to get that room ready so that I can actually create in that room. And I found this is an Artist Way book. It's called The Listening Path. And it's a 6-week Artist Way program. So being that I could not do the Artist Way with you guys the way that I wanted to in the beginning of the year, I think that this is a lovely way to get the basic tools of the Artist Way, tools that you will use in your everyday life, starting with the morning pages, getting up in the morning and just doing a stream of consciousness writing where you just write. You just write whatever's on your mind. Doesn't matter. Does it make sense? The sentences don't have to make sense. You are just jotting down words. And if you can't jot down words, maybe you stop and maybe you scribble a little bit. Maybe you doodle. Maybe you get back to but you just want to have a brain dump in the morning. Okay. And then the second tool that you're going to learn about in this book, and the foundation of the Artist Way, is the Artist Date. And that's where you take yourself, just you, no one else, out on a date. It could be a walk around an unfamiliar neighborhood. It could be a walk around a familiar neighborhood and looking at it through a different lens. Maybe you look at it through your camera lens or through your cell phone lens, and maybe you snap some pictures. But you take yourself out on an artist date. You go to a cafe, you go to a movie, maybe you buy, I like going to the dollar store and allowing myself 5 things to buy, and then taking them home and seeing what I could create with them. It's a way of filling the well, and it really does fill the well. I was looking at some artwork that I did, I don't know how long ago, but when I looked at this one piece of artwork, and I'm like, I think my girlfriend's daughter was the inspiration for this, and I really need to send this off to her and show her. It looks just like her, and it's all pink, and she's always all pink, and I believe that it's her. It looks just like her. And so it does seep into your subconscious, where you start to draw from these things that you see, whether it's a color palette. Just take note of these things that catch your eye so that you can fill your well, and you could be, when you are in a creative, our unconscious mind is responsible for our thoughts and our words and our actions. And if you could, I think I get in touch with my unconscious mind on a daily basis, because I am doing that brain dump through the morning pages, but then I'm getting down underneath that. Once I move all that junk out of the way, I'm getting down underneath that, and I'm getting to the meat of things. So 3 pages, front and back, in longhand. And I will, when I finally get into that flow where all the junk that's on the top part of my mind is siphoned off, my handwriting starts to slow down, my breathing starts to slow down, I become more meditative, the writing now becomes more meditative, and then now we're getting into these aha moments where it's like, oh, that's what's going on here. That's why I'm reacting the way that I'm reacting. So I think that if you want to get in touch with why you're doing things unconsciously, or why you feel the way that you feel, or behavior or thinking, the Artist Way is an excellent tool to, even if you just pick up that one, it's an excellent tool to help you discover yourself. And the third tool is a walking meditation. Now, those of you who have been here for a while know that any time that I would bend my grandmother's ear and I would go to her house and I would be, and she would be like, oh, why don't you go for a walk? And little did I know what she was doing. And I would be like, what do you mean go for a walk? I'm trying to talk to you. I'm trying to tell you about what happened. She's like, yes, go out for a walk. Think about what you want to say because you're like all over the place. Just go out for a walk. And she knew what she was doing, because when I came back from that walk, not that I didn't need my grandmother, but I'd be like, I think I'm thinking about things differently. Your body needs to move. This energy, especially when you are ramped up about something, you can't sit still. You're like all over the place. You're very frenetic. You're pacing the floor. You're going back and forth. Breathe in, breathe out, put your shoes on. Go take a walk. Go take a walk and just breathe and look around and bring your senses into the walk. Smell, look, hear. I think hearing, and probably why I love this book, is I was just saying in my Saturday Summer with the Masters, I am also a yoga teacher, and I was trained in meditation, and my longest meditation was like 5 to 6 hours. And it was an open eye. And I was like, that's going to be a breeze for me. I can go like this and be in a state of meditation. However, this was an open-eyed meditation. And it is, being aware of your surroundings, but also being able to hold your center. And that for me wasn't so easy. But what helped me was listening for sound, listening what was in the distance, what was very up close. Maybe it was someone's breathing next to me. Maybe it was a bird that I heard chirping. Maybe it was a car engine. So your listening can really lead you on a path. And I have done that too, where I'm on a walking meditation and I heard a wind chime and I was like, where's that wind chime coming from? I've walked up and down the street a million times. And the wind chime was coming from a different street that I don't walk down all the time. Like, we all have our roads, we drive, and, we're like little, we have the same route that we go to every day. And I had the same walking path. I know how to get somewhere very quickly. We're back. So I was on a walking meditation and I heard a wind chime, and I was on a street that I was on all the time, and I didn't think that it was coming from there. So I decided to follow it, and it took me down a street that I don't go down all the time. And it led me down to another, that's how far away it was that I heard it. And it led me down another block, and it was the sweetest little patio up on the 3rd floor. And that street I did happen to know very well. And I was like, I never looked up. I never looked up at that sweet little patio with its old-fashioned green awning. And it was like coming out of the 3rd floor. It was a little deck, and it was a lot of hanging plants and that sweet little wind chime. So the listening path is something that I think that it really does help you creatively if you're just diamond painting, or if you venture into other arts like I do. I venture into a lot of different creative arts. So I am going to sit here quietly, and I wanted to take Crimson out, but I was all set up for Summer with the Masters, and here she is. And I thought, am I going to clean this desk off and just start something else? So I will bring Crimson out again this week. I just did this for Summer with the Masters. You're not even I just did this for Summer with the Masters, little second installment, and now I'm going to be working on this for Self-Care Sunday. And I thought it would be nice to even show you guys what I have off to the side here. I just got a little croissant that I popped in my oven, maybe a little bit too long, but it's okay. It's a croissant. It's delicious. And this sweet little teapot that my girlfriend's daughter gave to me, I brought that out too, because I'm going to be having a cup of Earl Grey tea. And on the bottom here, a little bit of steam. On the bottom here, I put a little bit of hot water, just keep the cup hot, and some sliced lemon and a little bit of agave. So I will be enjoying that while I diamond paint. And it's all part of Self-Care Sunday of, taking care of yourself, and I don't want to keep that. I don't want to keep that lid on, because then I'm going to be dripping water all over my diamond painting. But you will see my tea, you will see my croissant, because I've been up since 4:30 and I haven't eaten anything yet. And I'm going to enjoy that croissant while I am diamond painting. And so I invite you to take your diamond painting out, the section we are on, and either, listen as a podcast, or you can take out your work in progress and you can just have me some background noise in the background. That I think that you're really going to love this book. And I'm going to start with, I just went over the introduction, which is the basic tools, and a little bit of stories that Julia had about her own relationship with listening. And I will, go back to that, back and forth with little things that I've highlighted. But I just want to get into the first chapter, which is listening to our environment. Part of doing something is listening. We are listening to the sun, to the stars, and to the wind. And so that's where I will be starting. And I just love this heading right here. What is your soundtrack? So while you guys diamond paint, and you'll see me diamond painting also, but my voiceover will be this chapter on Julia Cameron's The Listening Path. I'm going to have some of this tea. See you in a bit. While I was recording this session, I had the sweetest sounds happening around me. I could have heard my neighbor outside with her little grandson and his friends in their little pool outside. And, birds are constantly chirping in my environment. That's a soundtrack to my life. And it was just so quiet and relaxing in here. I could have heard the whirling of my ceiling fan. Unfortunately, my phone is awesome also, and it picks up the sound like in Dolby sound. And when I went back to edit this session, it was a little bit too loud. So I'm feeling kind of down that I couldn't have those natural sounds in the background for you to also hear while I speak to you. Another thing is, when I read the chapter that I said I was going to start with, the soundtrack of your life, it did bear upon the introduction. So if you didn't have the introduction, even though it is the basic tools of the artist way, but I gave it to you in my language, I think you really need to hear it in Julia's language. So we are going to start with the introduction. It is almost 7 p.m. on a July evening in Santa Fe, and the sky is still a bright azure blue. I sit on a bench amid the trees and flowers. Birds chirp in the tree nearby. I can't see them hidden in the tapestry of leaves, but I hear them as clearly as if they are next to me on the bench. Further in the distance, a raven calls. Is it communicating with my nearby songbirds, or is its conversation unrelated? Further off, a dog barks. A light breeze shifts the tall purple flowers by my bench, and they rustle against one another as they sway back and forth. A car passes by, its engine quieter than its heavy wheels crunching through the gravel below. Far in the distance, a horn honks on the main thruway. Wings flutter as a bird lights to the sky, gliding away and out of sight. Nearby, the songbirds' chatter has slowed, but they still sing, a tuneful discussion in the greenery above. Earlier, it sounded as if they were all speaking at once. Now they seem to be taking turns. Are they listening to each other? And what does it mean to listen? What does it mean for us in our everyday lives? We listen to our environment, whether it is the chirping of birds or the commotion of the city streets. Or perhaps we don't listen, tuning it out instead. We listen to others, or perhaps we wish we listened better. Others listen to us, or we wish they did. We listen for our instincts, our hunches, our guidance, and perhaps we wish we could hear them more clearly and more often. The listening path asks us to tune into the many cues and clues that surround us every day. It asks us to take a moment to stop and listen, and argues that the moment spent tuning in, especially when we think we don't have time, doesn't take time, but gives us time and gives us clarity, connection, and direction as well. Listening is something we all do and something we can all do more of. Every life can be improved by improving our listening. The listening path is a gentle path with tools along the way to become better listeners to our environment, our fellows, and ourselves. We listen to other people, and we learn that we can listen more closely. When we listen, really listen to what others have to say, their insight often surprises us. When we don't interrupt, but wait, allowing our companions to extend a thought instead of a rush to complete it, we learn that we can't, in fact, anticipate what they will share. Instead, we are reminded that we each have so much to offer, and that, given the chance, our companions will offer something more than that, and different from what we might expect. We just have to listen. We listen to our higher self, and in doing this, we are led both to guidance and to clarity. We do not struggle to think something up. Rather, we listen and take something down. Very little effort is required. What we are after is accuracy of listening. The voice of our higher self is calm, clear, plain spoken. We accept each insight as it comes to us, trusting the often simple thoughts that appear as ideas, hunches, and intuition. Practice in listening to our higher selves, we are ready to listen yet more deeply, reaching beyond the veil to listen to those close to us who have passed on. We find the unique and individual ways that our connection remains intact, and the ability to explore and expand that connection with ease. Reaching further still, we learn to listen to our heroes, those who we have not met but wish we had. And finally, we learn to listen to silence, where we may find we discover the very highest form of guidance. One step at a time, the listening path is a gracious experience of becoming more in touch with our world, ourselves, our beloveds, and beyond. So let us listen. The basic tools. And so the basic tools remain the same. Morning pages, artist dates, and walks. Each tool is inherently based in listening, and each develops our listening skills in specific ways. With morning pages, we serve as a witness to our own experience, listening to ourselves each morning and thus clearing the way for further listening throughout the day. With artist dates, we listen to the youthful part of ourselves who craves adventure and is full of interesting ideas. And with walks, we listen both to our environment and to what we might be called our higher power or higher self. I have written 40 books. When people ask me how I do it, I tell them I listen. They sometimes think I'm being glib, but I'm not being glib. I'm describing my writing process in the most accurate way I know how. Writing is a form of active listening. Listening tells me what to write. At its best, writing is like taking dictation. There is an inner voice. That voice speaks to us when we listen. It is clear, calm, guided. It is sure-footed, putting one word after another, unspooling the thread that is our train of thought. Focused on conscious listening, we become aware of a listening path, a path grounded in what we hear. When we listen, we are led spiritually. Listening for our emerging truth, we become increasingly true to ourselves. Honesty becomes our currency. We are given a glimpse of our souls. To thine own self be true. And when we are true to ourselves, we deal more truthfully with others. The listening path leads us to connection. The listening path is communal. We meet and greet our environment, our fellows, and ourselves. Because it is sourced in honesty, the listening path is a spiritual path. As we listen for our personal truth, we hear a universal truth. We tap into an inner resort. We tap into an inner resource, which can be called grace. As we work to listen more and more authentically, we find ourselves ever more honest. A step at a time, we are training ourselves to honesty. In time, it begins to be automatic. The habit of listening must be formed and practiced, and there is a simple way to begin. You may start as I started, and still start each day with the practice of morning pages. And what are they? Morning pages are a daily practice of 3 pages, stream of consciousness, written first thing upon awakening. I and many others have used them for decades and have found them to be the most powerful tool to practice listening. The pages are about anything and everything. There is no wrong way to do them. They range from petty to profound. I forgot to buy kitty litter. I didn't call my sister back. The car has a funny knock to it. I hated that Jeff took my credit for my idea. I'm tired and I'm grumpy. Morning pages are like a little whisk broom that you poke into all the corners of your consciousness. They say, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is what I want more of. This is what I want less of. The pages are intimate. They tell us how we really feel. In the pages, there is no room for evasion. We tell ourselves, we feel okay, and then we tell ourselves what we mean by that. Does okay mean not so good, or does it mean fine? Pages are for your eyes only. They are private and personal, not to be shown to anyone, however close they are to us. Pages are written out longhand, not by computer. Writing by hand yields us a handmade life. Writing by computer is faster, but speed is not what we are after. We are after depth and specificity. We want to record exactly how we feel and why. Pages puncture denial. We learn what we really think, and it is often a surprise to us. I need to leave this job, we may find ourselves saying, or I need more romance in my romance. Pages nudge us towards action. Something that seemed good enough no longer seems that way. We admit we may deserve better, and then we admit our own inner inertia, our regrettable tendency to settle, which we have now outgrown. Pages are a form of meditation. We write down our cloud thoughts as they cruise through our consciousness. But pages are meditation with a difference. Unlike conventional meditation, they move us to action. They do not meditate away our concerns. Instead, we write them out, and as we do, we are faced squarely with the question, what are you going to do about that? Pages corner us into action. They do not settle for anything less. They tutor us into taking risks on our own behalf. The first time pages raise the notion of action, we may find ourselves thinking, I couldn't do that. But pages are persistent. And the second time they raise the notion, we may find ourselves thinking, maybe I could try that. As the pages edge us further on, we find ourselves recording, I believe that I'll try that. And we do try, and quite often we succeed. Morning pages are wise. They put us in touch with our own wisdom. We find ourselves tapping an inner resource that gives us answers to our many and varied problems. Our intuition is heightened. We find unexpected solutions to situations that used to baffle us. The spirituality inclined among us begin to speak of God. God, they say, is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Whether we call our helper God or simply the pages we experience breakthroughs, our lives begin to run more smoothly. We come to count on it. Morning pages are simple but dramatic. They turn us into who we want to be. What could be better than that? Now, this chapter was really intense, and I skimmed over the highlights of it. There are certainly stories of Julia's students. So if you found any of this interesting, you can get the book and you can read even more intently about morning pages and how they work their magic. At the end of this chapter, Julia put a little text box in the book that says, try this. Set your alarm 45 minutes early. Spill from the bed straight onto the page. Write 3 pages longhand about anything and everything that crosses your mind. At the end of these 3 pages, quit. Welcome to Morning Pages. They are the gateway to the listening path. And from there, we're going to go right into the artist state, which is the second basic tool. The artist state is a tool of attention. It has a different emphasis. Artist and date. Put simply, an artist date is a once weekly solo expedition to do something that enhances or interests you. It is half artist and half date. You are wooing your artist. Planned ahead of time, hence date. This weekly adventure is something to look forward to. As with a romantic date, anticipation is half the fun. Julia writes that when she teaches, she finds herself facing resistance, not from the work of the morning pages, but for the play of an artist date. Our culture has a strong work ethic, but we have no play ethic. And so when she introduces morning pages and says, I have a tool for you, it's a nightmare. You must get up 45 minutes early and take to the page. I can see heads nodding. My students get that this tool might be very valuable, and so they readily commit to doing it. But when I introduced artist dates, I want you to do something that intrigues or enchants you for an hour or 2 weekly. In other words, I want you to play, arms crossed defiantly. What good could play possibly do? We understand working on our creativity. We don't realize the phrase, the play of ideas, is actually a prescription. Play and you will get ideas. It is astonishingly difficult to undertake assigned play. Julia, I can't think of an artist date, I am sometimes told. Once again, this plea comes from a lack of play. Rather than be playful, these students are overly serious. They believe that they must find the perfect artist date. Nonsense, I tell them. Then I ask them to number from 1 to 5, and quickly, off the top of their head, 5 possible artist dates. With a list of 5 simple pleasures seems impossible to come up with, I give my students a tip. Pretend you were a youngster. Name 5 things you did as a youngster and that you enjoyed. Grudgingly, the playlists are generated. Go to a children's bookstore. Go to a pet shop. Go to an art store. Go to a movie. Go to the zoo. After they have listed their initial 5, I urge them to come up with 5 more. This takes a bit more digging, but soon 5 more are uncovered. Visit a plant store. Visit a botanical garden. Visit a fabric store. Visit a button shop. Attend a play. The minute artist dates are firmly established as fun, ideas for them abound, but for those who are still stymied, brainstorming with a friend turns the trick. Our friend may say, visit a museum, visit a gallery, visit a hardware store. The lists are giddy delights, nothing serious here. This is not the time to undertake edifying adult pleasures, such as a computer course you've been meaning to take. The course is not an artist date. It is far too demanding. What we are after here is sheer fun, nothing too harsh, and remember, it must be undertaken solo. You are wooing yourself. The adventure is not to be shared. It is private, it is personal, a secret gift you share with yourself alone. Artist dates are an integral part of the listening path. As we set out to have fun, we are voting confidence in ourselves. We are daring to expand, listening for the joy that each festive expedition brings us. We become attuned to happiness, and happiness is a primary characteristic of the listening path. So try this. Once a week, take yourself on a festive solo expedition. Do something that brings you delight. Choose something fun, something that tickles your fancy.
Plan your date ahead of time so that you anticipate it with joy. Allow yourself to be playful. Be young at heart. The third tool of the artist way, and I believe that Julia added this on sometime after publishing The Artist Way. I believe she did a second book, or maybe third or fourth, I can't remember, called Walking in This World. And I believe that she added this to the basic tools. And for me, um, I love my writing. I love artist dates. Um, but the walking is something that comes a close second to the writing. So maybe I am in that category of not knowing how to play and have fun, but I do once I get into planning an artist date for myself. And like I said, I'll go to a dollar store and I'll pick things up, and I'll say I'm going to spend $5 or $10, and I'm going to just pick things up that catch my eye, and not really, think about why, but then bring them home and create something. And I think with one of my jaunts to the dollar store, I did just that on camera, where I showed you what I bought, and I did play around with them for a little bit while I was showing them to you. So walking. When we walk, we listen. We tune into the sights and sounds of our environment. We awaken our senses. Walking brings us into the present moment. We notice our surroundings. We become alert, moving at a gentle pace. We take in all that meets our path. The cardinal flicking from a tree. The mountain aster gracing the roadside. The quick gray lizard darting across our path. Stretching our legs, we stretch our minds. We take delight in the songbirds perched in the tree. If we are lucky, we spot a deer posing immobile in the tall grass. Each step we take fires off endorphins, nature's booster rockets. Our body chemistry alters toward the positive. Our mood lifts automatically. What we see and hear cheers us as well. We receive double benefits, physical and psychological. Both work on our behalf. There, the cat on the windowsill. We greet the sight gladly. There, the puddle to be avoided. As we walk, we are alert. We spot dangers on the trail. The pace of walking makes that possible. Sounds come to us crisply. The ravens call, the songbirds trill. We register each sound, the wind in the trees. The softest swoosh catches our attention. We listen to our world as we walk. As we practice conscious listening, our hearing becomes more acute. We tune into the sounds in our environment. We become more and more discerning. With each footfall, we hear more clearly. We walk ourselves into clarity. Whether we live in country or in a city, walking makes our territory ours. Whether we are spotting a painted horse grazing by a roadside or a mounted policeman directing traffic, we savor the sight. Walking, we take mental Polaroids, catching moment by moment. Back at home, settled in to write or paint, we have our memories of walking to draw upon. Walking has enriched our store of creative supplies. Endorphins, nature's booster rockets, are released as we walk. Our feelings of well-being increase. Walking out grumpy, we alter our mood a footfall at a time. A brief 20-minute walk is long enough to nudge us into optimism. We vanquish our bad moods with every step. Sometimes people have difficulty setting out to walk. It seems like a waste of time and energy, but it is not a waste. Again, 20 minutes can burn 40 calories, sometimes more. It revs up our metabolism for several hours. A daily walk peels away pounds. It's enough to turn our muscles and build stamina. Although we can quickly discover its benefits from ourselves, Walking holds a place of honor in many spiritual traditions. Aborigines set out on walkabouts. Native Americans pursue vision quest. Wiccans walk to Glastonbury. Buddhists practice walking meditation. It was St. Augustine who proclaimed, "It is solved by walking." The it may be a personal or professional dilemma. Walking untangles our often tangled lives. A footfall at a time, we are brought to clarity. We might equally walk to unravel affairs of the heart. I feel this way about that, the walk tells us. Many of us intuitively take to walking when we are trying to puzzle something out. With each step, we listen and hear with more ease. As we walk, our listening deepens. We naturally attune to our environment and to our higher selves. Walking, we take in the sights and sounds of the world we live in. In the country, we hear songbirds, their melody interrupted by a raven's call. Walking slowly, we soon spot a bird perched on a high tree limb. It flaps off as we draw near. We walk on, gifted again with melody. In the city, a jackhammer drills a staccato beat. Walking toward the sound, we see that stretch of sidewalk is being repaired. Skirting the men and machines, we come upon a hydrant gushing water. We step into the roadway, the better to avoid the muck. A taxi honks and we step to one side. The impatient driver shouts from a roll-down window, "Out of the way!" "Okay, okay," we call back. Stepping back up onto the curb, we resume our walk, pausing to warn a dog walker of a mess he will face ahead. Walking renders us friendly. The dog walker with his pack of dogs thanks us for the heads up. I wrote a book titled Walking in This World. Oh, there we go. Its premise: the walking benefits us spiritually as well as physically. It suggests walking with friends, the better to have a heartfelt conversation. Walking, we are attuned to the rhythm of our thoughts. We hear the words and the emotion behind the words. We become intimate. It is difficult to lie walking. Each footfall engages our attention. Each footfall engages our breath. We find ourselves saying the unsayable. We listen as we talk. We ask ourselves the question, am I being authentic? Walking as we talk, the answer tends to be yes. And so here is Julia's exercise. Outfit yourself with a pair of comfortable shoes. Set out for a brief 20-minute walk. Take in your surroundings. Notice what you are mulling on. Back home, take to the page and note down one sight from your walk. For example, I passed a florist shop with a whole bank of giant sunflowers. Or, I passed a Sharpei who looked very distinguished. Now write down one aha from your walk. We receive insights and ideas when we walk. Walking opens us up to a higher form of listening, which might be called guidance or intuition. For example, I realize I can trust that my cousin has a higher power, even though she looks to me for so much advice. Or, I'd like to write more music. I wish I could write a little bit each morning after morning pages. Take your 20-minute walk at least 2 times during the week. Are you waking up to the world around you? I hear a husband waking up in the background. So that is the end of the introduction. And once again, I did skim to the basic tools. I don't think there's anything basic about them. I mean, they're the foundational tools. Your morning pages, your artist dates, and your walks. And then the next chapter, I believe that this book, whereas The Artist's Way is 12, this has been cut in half. This is 6 chapters, 6 weeks. And my little baby Honor is noticing birds outside the window. And he is speaking to them outside. outside. And it's very interesting because I was going to go through what each week is. And week one, of course, I showed you in the beginning, is listening to our environment. And I believe that that is the soundtrack of your life. And the reason why I went back to the introduction was I did read this again. I actually did this course with my husband, and sometimes a little hesitant when I'm reading is because we have so many notes outlined in the margins of this book. We actually did we share this book? I know that I bought this book for him January 16th, 2021. Wow, this is really eerie right now. Oh boy. This is my dad's birthday. And I wrote inside the book, today was the first birthday without my dad. And it's Father's Day today. Oh my gosh. I've been talking about, signs from my dad. And if you listen to my Summer with the Masters, I was talking about the sign from my dad was that I'm watching Presumed Innocent with Jake Gyllenhaal, and how my father was an avid fan of James Patterson. Well, I had that all wrong because I was listening to my mother, and I actually noted that in the video, and I found it funny because my dad, I could have heard my dad saying, Lisa, you know that she mixes up everybody's names. And you went and made a video and you're telling everybody it was James Patterson when it was actually Scott Turow. So this is actually dated January 16. Today was the first birthday without my dad. Oh, wow. I had to take a break after reading the inscription that I wrote to my husband on my father's birthday, January 16th, 2021. But he was coming down the steps also. And I paused the video to tell him, I was like, look at this. This is what I'm doing this week for Self Care Sunday. And, I pulled this book out as one of the books that I want to introduce to my subscribers from my bookshelf of what I actually read and what has actually changed my life. And I said, look at the date, January 16th. And he said, not only is it your father's birthday, but do you remember what we were in the midst of? That is exactly 1 month to the date of my mom passing away. Well, his mom passed away on February 15th, and we were living with her, and we were taking care of her. And it was just me and John. And we weren't even on separate schedules. We were doing everything together. We were up together. We were down together. And Rita, was a very vibrant young 90-year-old, but she had stage 4 congestive heart failure. And so it was rough. It was really, really rough because, she was still a ball of fire, And so we were talking about that, and I was talking about signs, and I read about this in the introduction, and I went back to it, where practiced in listening to our higher selves, we are ready to listen yet more deeply, reaching beyond the veil to listen to those close to us who have passed on. We find unique and individual ways that our communication remains intact, and the ability to explore and expand that connection with ease. Reaching further still, we learn to listen to our heroes. So, uh, um, I could have pulled any book off the shelf, any book to introduce into my self-care Sundays, but I chose this one. Again, because I had started the Artist Way and didn't finish in the new year with my subscribers, and just how much I believe that listening in all forms is so important to our lives. And so um, as we go on this listening path, we just did the introduction and using the basic tools. And I hope that you try 1, 2, maybe all 3 of them before we get back together again next week. But week 1 will be listening to our environment. And week 2 is listening to others, how to be a better listener. And week 3 is listening to yourself, your higher self. Week 4, listening beyond the veil, which I just read. Week 5, listening to our heroes. Week 6, listening to silence. And who knows, this 6-week jaunt might, take you into a more deeper understanding of the artist way, and that you want to then, go full blown into the artist way. It's a beautiful book. I love that book. And I have that book. And then I have 3 of her. I think I have like the commemorative edition where it's the artist way, walking in this world. And I believe the 3rd one might be Finding Water or Vein of Gold. So, yeah. I was actually looking at my diamond painting when it was hanging up on the wall last night. And from across the room, this painting, the way that it comes into view, I could just see a panel. I actually wanted to get my camera and take a little video for you guys so that you can see it from afar, how beautiful this scene is that comes through the window pane. It's so realistic, just so beautiful. I was thinking about taking this out again today, but I had cleared my desk for Come Back Crimson. Crimson is a canvas by Curtis Rekovich. It's a holiday canvas. And, we're coming into Christmas in July, and I thought, well, I'll bring Crimson back because I ran out of a color. I may have dropped it on the floor. I can't remember. And I said, well, she's going to get put away. I have Lilac. Lilac was up for Christmas. Beautiful. Another Curtis Rekovich. And I call it the sister to actually Crimson. And when I unrolled it, I was like, oh, I got the drills that I need. When I unrolled it, I was like, oh, wow, there's a whole section missing. Excuse me. So there's a whole section of painting that I have to do. So she's nowhere near done. So I'm going to bring her back out. And I'm kind of waiting on July, but then I'm kind of not. I kind of like want to get my hands back on her. So maybe she'll be done for Christmas in July. Maybe I'll take, I don't know if I have any other winter scenes for coming up for the holiday. I just love Lilac, and I love Crimson, and I love them together. I hang them both up in my living room. And I would really like to, and I believe I took the border off of both of those. And that's kind of a bummer. But, maybe they'll be one of the ones that go into my frame. I know I was actually looking for, I actually bought paintings in a thrift store for my Gustav Klimt paintings, but maybe these guys will go in if they fit for the holiday. Well, my allergies are starting to act up, and there's only a few more minutes here, so maybe I'll just end this session with some music. Have a wonderful Sunday. Have a happy Father's Day, and I will see you in the next one. Keep continuing to create that world that you want to live in. And The Listening Path, The Creative Art of Attention by Julia Cameron, is a wonderful addition to creating that world.
Welcome back. I hope that you enjoyed this listening path session. I'm hoping, I was thinking while I was diamond painting myself, that since this is a listening meditation, and maybe I should just keep the natural sounds that are happening around me, on the volume instead of like letting the volume go. I hope that's what I did, because I have some lovely sounds in the background. I hear some birds chirping. I hear Tony outside with his grandmother in the swimming pool. I hear my neighbors going in and out. They're getting ready to go in the pool. They're not as quiet as Tony. So I say, we better say goodbye here now. So so happy to be back at my desk. And I hope that you have a lovely Father's Day in whatever capacity that you are celebrating this day. My dad is gone, and it's going to be a very quiet and I honor my dad every day, and I'm sure that you do too, but it's nice to give them a special day. And for those of you that for whatever reason this might be a difficult day, just know to be kind to yourself and be easy with yourself, and do whatever it is that makes you feel that you're taking care of your heart, and that maybe there's a prayer that is coming to me from A Course in Miracles, that if the situation cannot be resolved, to whatever deity that you pray to please touch their heart and to heal yours. And that's what was coming to me as I was thinking about those of you that might be in a situation that's difficult. Touch their heart and heal mine. And who knows, I was talking to my godmother the other day, and she said, Elisa, there was a member of my family that I didn't talk to for 18 years. And it was actually her brother. And she's like, one day he picked up the phone and called me. And she's like, we talked like, who the hell even knows why the hell we weren't talking? And I guess I hear that more and more. And I guess more and more families are like that. But just listen for the signs, listen for the cues, and listen, most importantly, to your heart. Okay, I'll see you next time. Have fun diamond painting. Bye.